Good morning and welcome to your Financial Empower Hour. This is Jason Cryderman with Great Lakes Investment Advisors. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners, to all of our viewers. Tony, as you and I record this show, it is Monday before Thanksgiving. So this is a really, really big, busy week for a lot of families. A lot of family time coming, maybe a lot of travel, maybe a lot of eating, a lot of turkey, a lot of tryptophan. So as you are listening to or watching this show on Sunday morning, you're probably recovering for or still stuck in the turkey hangover, the Thanksgiving Day coma that we all tend to eat ourselves into. And not only is it's great the first day on Thanksgiving, Tony, but I think we talked about this last year. I love Thanksgiving dinner 2 and 3 days later. It just keeps getting better and better.
I think so.
Yep. You know, as we talk about what's going on in our weeks, it's Thanksgiving week, Tony. So happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, especially by the time our listeners and our viewers are seeing this and listening to it. I hope everybody had an awesome, wonderful, family-filled Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah. And it is, the show is airing Thanksgiving weekend and this past Thursday, then Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is always a great time. One of my fall is my favorite time of year, first of all. And Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays because, of course, I love food. And we always talk about this, Jason, but I always eat too much. But
everybody does.
Like I don't know we said last year. Yeah, like we said last year, though, people always say, what's your favorite food at Thanksgiving? And I said either that night, or usually the next day, taking the leftover turkey, putting it in a pan with butter, put a bunch of butter in a pan, and take pieces of the turkey, put it in there, season it a bit, and just brown it on each side in the butter. Yeah. Then take it, put it between two pieces of toast with some mayo, maybe some cheese on there. It is the best. It's better than the turkey fresh out of the oven.
My stomach is grumbling right now as it hears you speak about that.
I'm telling you, it's better than the turkey right out of the oven. It's so good. So,
well, anytime you add butter and then you mention mayonnaise and toast and cheese, and how can that not be good?
Yeah, it's delicious. It's what I look forward to every year, but I look forward to the gathering. I always love it brings the family together, and so we're going to celebrate twice this year. Once with my mom and dad down there, and then on Thanksgiving Day with Sarah's family, and we're going over to her brother's house, which is the best because his wife, Chris, the most amazing cook and food. The potatoes will be to die for. They'll have a spread. There'll be a million different things to choose from. And they always have great, appetizers and charcuterie boards and crackers and cheese. And so, 2 different kinds of potatoes, so many vegetables, salads, turkey.
So if you walk away from there hungry, it's your own darn fault.
It is your own fault. That is right, Jason. If you walk away hungry, it's your own fault. So do you guys have big plans for Thanksgiving this year?
Yeah, we do. We're kind of doing what you're doing. We're traveling a little bit. On Thanksgiving Day, we're going to head over to Essexville, over to Amy's parents. And, the holidays is always traveling for us, especially with the kids, right? You got to get all the kids up, get them around, get traveling, which traveling's kind of a pain, but it's only, half hour, 45-minute drive one way. And then on Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to head over to my dad and Carol's place, which is about 45 minutes the other way. But really the nice thing about that is we don't have to do any of the cooking, the hosting, and the cleaning up. So we travel, but they tend to take care of everything. And now, granted, we always bring something to pass along to help with the cooking. And then, of course, we always help clean up at the grandma and grandpa's houses. But it's totally different when you host it and have it at your house. So the whole week ahead of time, you're prepping and preparing and cleaning and getting ready. And then afterwards, you're going to take the next week to clean up and who all was here and what all happened and where did they stick plates and cups and forks. And, you find them under the couch because Uncle Billy was eating his food and he fell asleep watching football and kicked his plate under the couch. And the dogs are scratching under there 4 days later trying to find it. And so it's, so we're going to do a little bit of traveling as well. We do the same. It's awesome. I love the holidays. Yeah, the food is great. The food is awesome, Tony. Just like you mentioned, Amy's mom cooks the absolute hands down best homemade noodles you've ever had. And when you take the noodles and the gravy and put it on your potatoes, there's no restaurant that can compare and compete with Grammy's noodles. But it's so nice to be able to see the family, right? You just get to spend some downtime, kick your shoes off, watch a little bit of football, socialize, BS, whatever you want to call it, just catch up with family. And that's something that I really, really love about the holidays, Tony, because as you know, life is fast, right? Life is fast in your lane. Life is fast in my lane. We're always busy, busy, busy. Go, go, go. Work, work, work. Kids, travel. And so to be able just to kick back, and I really, really hope that all my listeners and all my viewers, when you're listening to this Thanksgiving weekend, the Sunday of, I hope you're thinking right now, reflecting back upon an awesome year, what to be thankful for, and you're doing just what I said, relax. Hopefully you just had a good 2 or 3 days of relaxing with family time, with friend time. Yeah, maybe a little turkey tryptophan hangover. That's okay. But I really hope everybody had an awesome time just to relax, kick back, spend some really good time with family, and just to remember those things to be thankful for, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know, we all have things to be thankful for. You and I are very fortunate. We have a lot to be thankful for, our families. And we both love what we do for our jobs. I think I'm so thankful for so much. I'm thankful for you, Jason, being so kind and understanding, allowing me to be your co-host.
Well, Tony, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So I am very thankful. And I know my listeners and viewers are also very thankful for you, Tony Shore, and everything you've done for us. And the whole team there at Gradient Investments is just it's something to be very, just step back once in a while and take a look and realize what we have in front of us, right? And sometimes that old theory of we get blinded by you can't see the forest because of the tree in front of you or something. So
right.
Step back and take a look and just think about the things we are very blessed and thankful for, because you're right, Tony. We're very blessed. We're very thankful for the opportunities that we've been given. And thank you for being part of that.
All right. Well, hey, that is great, Jason. And I know, talking about having a relaxing, you and I, but especially you with the younger kids, you're always busy, always running around every weekend. And I asked you what you did this past weekend, and you said, you know what, Tony? We stayed home. We didn't travel anywhere. We didn't have to go anywhere. It was the nicest thing. And aren't those times nice? And, traveling a little bit, it makes Thanksgiving even better, because then it's not so bad. You travel a little bit for Thanksgiving to see family, but you had a weekend off beforehand. That was good. So I love that too. And it's funny you said that. And I was just thinking about my weekend. My wife and I were talking last night about, I go, hasn't this been a great weekend? And my wife said, yeah, we got a lot done here. We got leaves raked. We did so much. We were so productive. I think it actually helped that the Vikings were so bad that I normally, I'm a Vikings fan, and so is my wife. And so, we could turn that off after the first half.
After the national anthem, really.
Yeah.
It's like, after that, it's all downhill when you're watching a Vikings game.
Whereas you had to wait until overtime. At least you won, though. At least Detroit won, which is good.
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, I mean,
they made it hard on themselves.
They made it hard. They had to go into overtime.
Look
just
hard
to win a game. And you look at the week before, and of course, again, remember, we're recording this on Monday. So by the time it airs on Sunday, we've already played again this week on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm just praying that this is a successful victory against the Packers.
Who's that against?
It's against the Packers.
Oh yeah. It's in Detroit though, right?
It's in Detroit, Thanksgiving Day. Yep.
Yeah.
So
they always play Thanksgiving Day. I love that the Lions play Thanksgiving Day, and we'll be watching some of that game. I'll be sneaking out to the living room, taking peeks.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we're not still eating at that time, or doing something, but yes, that'll be great. But you know what it is? We got so much done. And when people, can actually take time for themselves, and that's what really, this is a good segue, because that's what retirement should be. That's what it should be. It should feel like those weekends where we didn't have to go. We actually got things done. We're accomplishing things, but yet you have a purpose. It was so great this weekend. And I know you help people plan for retirement so they can have those weekends in retirement, but yet still have purpose. And we're going to talk about what people need to do before they retire. So for those out there that have either just retired or haven't yet retired, whether you're 10 years away, 5 years away, or especially a lot of the things I know, Jason, you have for us today are as if people are just like, let's say they want to retire next year. Hey, you got to get this list of things done before you retire. I think that's important. So before we get into that, though, I want to give our listeners an opportunity to get a copy of your book called Empower Your Retirement, because this is really a guidebook that talks about the things we're going to touch on in the show, and you're going to need this. You can get a copy absolutely no charge, not even postage, and no obligation. Just be one of the next 10 people to contact Great Lakes Investments at 989-835-7203. That number is 989-835-7203. And just mention you heard about it on the radio show, whether it's watching on YouTube, listening to it as a podcast, or you heard us on air. Just mention that you heard the show and you want a copy of Jason's book. They'll send it out. No charge, no obligation. Again, that number, 989-835-7203. And this is your Financial Empower Hour. I am your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, the man with the plan today. As always, the fiduciary, Jason Cryderman. And by fiduciary, I mean best guy I've ever met. Great guy.
Well, I don't know if that's what fiduciary means, Tony, but thank you.
Oh, that's not what it means? Oh, that's not the definition? Oh, okay.
You, my man. We do have an awesome relationship. We've known each other for a really long time. But being a fiduciary, Tony, that's something that's really important. I mean, we've talked about it on the show. Yeah. It's something that's very, very important to myself and my team, and why we've chosen to be fiduciary advisors. So for my listeners and viewers out there, if you're not familiar with what that term means, fiduciary, what it means to you, I really challenge you to do a little bit of due diligence, do some research. It really means that what I must do by law is look out 100% for your best interest, disclosing any and all potential conflicts of interest, disclosing 100% any and all ways, how much and when we get paid, everything A to Z just must be 100% your best interest. And I think it's important, Tony, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's important that our viewers and listeners know that you have choices and options of who you work with. You have choices and options of when and how much you pay them. You have choices and options if you choose to work with a fiduciary or not. You have choices if you choose to pay somebody a commission and or a fee. These are all choices and options you have, but starting out working with a fiduciary, you can rest at ease knowing that everything they do, any fiduciary like myself, must be by law 100% in their best interest. So thanks for pointing that out, Tony, because I know we're going to talk today about some things we should do.
Yes.
Things we should do right before retirement, maybe right at retirement and into retirement, right?
Yes.
And I've been doing this again for almost 23 years now, Tony. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think there's any one perfect retirement, right? Because there's always curveballs, there's always screwballs, there's always maybe some delays, maybe things happen sooner. There's always changes, life changes, laws change, rules change, taxes change, the stock market changes. Things are always changing, but I can't stress enough for those of you that are right there before retirement. We call it the retirement red zone. And maybe I like to say 2 to 5 years before retirement. That's really a very, very crucial time in planning for retirement. Now, I've met a lot of people over the years, though, Tony, that retirement just jumped up on them, whether it was their choice or not their choice. And all of a sudden they didn't have those 2 to 5 years to plan, or they didn't think they did. And now they're in retirement. And so you want to approach it a little differently, but no matter what phase of life you're in or what phase of retirement, there's some very crucial things that we're going to go over, Tony, today that I want my viewers and listeners to be aware of, be prepared for, start thinking about whether, like I say, 3 to 5 years before retirement or even already in retirement. It's never too late.
Yeah. Well, and I like that. It's never too late. And I think step one, as you always say, you got to nail down that retirement date and your budget.
Yeah.
That's kind of first on the list. But I think, Jason, why my wife and I, we don't need to pick our date. That's what you're for. We're going to come in there. We're going to come in there to Great Lakes, and you're going to tell us, Tony, here's when you're going to retire.
Well, a lot of people do that. They come in, they say, "Hey, when can I retire?"
Right. That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, when can I retire? And there's a lot of variables that come into play with that, Tony.
Right.
But I think you're absolutely right. One of the first things you want to try to do, and I'll kind of come back to nail down your retirement date, is number one, have a plan, right? If you can, you want to try to have a plan. I want to retire in 5 years. I want to retire in 10 years. Or maybe it's, oh my gosh, I just got a buyout. My job got eliminated, or hey, I can't go to work tomorrow. I'm going to. Then you still need to have a plan of what does retirement look like. Like, can I plan for it? Or here I am already in it. Now what? What is the plan? So I think it's very important to have a written plan, whether it's written on a napkin or some plans are a little more elaborate than others. I don't think you need a 50-page dissertation plan, but I think you need to write a plan down. You also probably need to write the people that are on your team, like your fiduciary advisor, your CPA, your attorney, because when you start planning for this retirement and you get into and through an awesome retirement, you're going to need to have those resources on your team to fall back on forward advice. Okay, so I think it's important you have a team, you have a plan. Ultimately, you work with your family, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, to talk to them about what your dreams and vision are. Make sure everybody's on the same team. Have a plan, but once you have a plan, you have a team. Yeah, I think nailing down that date, if you can, enough in advance, like we're going to retire in 2 years or 5 years or 3 months. Yeah. And then work on that budget, right? We want to try to eliminate as much debt as possible. If we can eliminate as much debt before retirement, that decision of can I afford to retire and am I going to be okay in retirement is a lot easier. It's a lot easier if you've already eliminated all your debt or have reduced as much of your debt as possible.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important.
Yeah, eliminating debt is a big one. Obviously, you don't want to carry debt into retirement because that'll really throw off your retirement plans. And that debt, especially high interest debt, it can continue to grow. Mm-hmm. So get that all paid off. I think, and there's good debt and bad debt. Mortgages, if you have a low interest rate, aren't necessarily going to be a killer in retirement. But anything you can get paid off, I imagine, would be a big help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like dragging anchors along with you, right? But when you set sail into retirement, you don't want to be dragging these anchors behind you. You want to like all anchors up, all sails up, and just enjoy an awesome retirement. Well, any debt that we have is like an anchor. It's dragging us down behind us. It's taking up monthly cash flow. It's a stressor on our lives. If those interest rates are too high, we're paying more for that original purchase cost than we ever should have, which again is eroding away at our retirement savings. So yeah, I think there is such thing as smart debt, as you mentioned, mortgage, if it's low enough. Some people have a HELOC because they're buying a second home or another business. Something like that might make sense. Yep. And some people leverage a lot of their expenses on a credit card. And at the end of the month, they pay it off. Yeah. And so that's debt. You have revolving debt, but you're being smart and wise with that debt.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's okay. So, Jason, that is it. Figure out when you can retire and look at paying down debt. What's something else that people need to make sure that they get done or are doing before they retire?
So I think you got to think about what your expenses will be in retirement. The reality, and I'm going to break this down into two expenses, Tony. We have our have to have expenses or have to have money. We have to have housing, food, utilities, healthcare, taxes, right? Those things we have to spend. And then we have our want to haves, right? That's like our fun stuff, our travel, our retirement bucket list, more time with the kids and the grandkids and volunteering. And some of your old hobbies, you're going to do more of them. And some hobbies you don't even have yet, you're going to pick them up and do more different hobbies. So, you got to really figure out and calculate what is your budget and your expenses going to be in retirement. And then you got to look at what are your income sources. If you're going to have a pension or not, if you're going to turn on Social Security or not, and if you're going to have to tap into your retirement savings, your 401k, your Roth IRA, any of your investments. And then you really have to weigh out with these expenses, these income sources at a reasonable rate of return, minimizing our risk. How long is our money going to last? Can we afford to live the retirement lifestyle we've always wanted to? And sometimes that's a real shock for people because they never realized 30, 40 years ago how much longer we were going to live in retirement. 30 or 40 years ago, people thought, gee, I'm going to retire at 65. I'll probably be dead by 70 because life expectancies are longer. I only need my money to last for so long. Well, now, Tony, we're living a heck of a lot longer than people ever planned when they started working. And so now you need really retirement is almost like retirement's almost like it's a phase of unemployment in your life, right? When you're retired, it's like unemployment. Well, how long can you make this unemployment last with your own personal savings and investments? And you might need to be in retirement for as long, if not longer, than you were working. So something we really got to get a handle on is what would our expenses be and where are our sources of income coming from to pay for those monthly expenses?
Yeah. So I think obviously figuring out what your monthly budget is, people hate the B word, but looking at those monthly expenses and categorizing like that, that is great. That's a great strategy and something people need to make sure they have in hand before retirement. You don't want to not know, what do we spend on what each month? We don't know. We're just going to retire now. That's
not a plan, right? That's called winging it. That's called winging it. And over the 23 years I've been a fiduciary financial advisor, Tony, most winging it retirement plans aren't that successful. Not all. Most of them are not.
Most of them are not successful. Correct. And that's where the phrase, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And you don't want to plan to fail. That's for sure. But that's what happens if you don't have a plan and work with a trusted financial professional, a fiduciary like yourself. So make sure you know what you need to do. You got to build that retirement budget and stress test it. And you need to build in for inflation, things like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration through retirement when you're going to be on a limited, restricted budget, right? I mean, your income's going to be limited. Your expenses need to be restricted as well. Inflation, you got to take into consideration inflation because if you don't, it's going to eat you alive. Yeah. The cost of taxation, what taxes might do to your retirement if taxes go back up at some point in time. When we talk about income taxes, tax on our Social Security, we could right now, anywhere from 0 to 50 to 85% of our Social Security is taxed. At some point in time, if that goes to 100% taxation, what is that going to do to your monthly income stream? And then healthcare costs. Healthcare is a big one. And so this is also a big one that people have to plan for. If you're going to plan on retiring before age 65, when you would become that Medicare eligible age, you really need to pay attention to and focus on what would your medical healthcare cost be? Will your employer still provide those benefits? If so, what's it going to cost you out of pocket? If not, are you going to have to go to marketplace and bridge the gap, as they say, to pay for your own health insurance from 62 to 65 or whatever age you do decide to retire? And then take into consideration also, the IRMAA threshold for Medicare. You can only make a certain amount of money, and then all of a sudden your healthcare premiums start to go up year after year. So things you definitely need to take into consideration. Again, how can you have a successful retirement if you just wing it, if you don't have a plan, right, Tony? So I really think it's important to have a plan and have a team. Have a team on your plan, a fiduciary advisor, an insurance advisor, a health insurance advisor, a CPA, an estate planning advisor. The more people you can have on your team, the more you can plan, the more proactive. We call it, it's actually the tagline of my book, Tony, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. Yep. Well, the more you can plan ahead, the more you can prepare, and the more members of your team, I promise you, the more prepared you're going to be, the more best you're going to be able to capture, and the more prepared you're going to be when the not so goods and the worst do happen in life. So plan, have it written down, and have a team there to help you.
Boom. right there. And how do you do that? How do you get that plan? How do you get that team behind you? All you have to do is pick up the phone and give Jason and his team there at Great Lakes a call. Jason, I know you and your team love to hear from our listeners and viewers out there. You love to answer any questions they might have, and you're offering a no charge, no obligation consultation. Again, there's no charge, there's no obligation. Just call, set up an appointment. It's 989-835-7203. And that number again is 989-835-7203. Give them a call, get a plan in place. Now, today on your Financial Empower Hour, we're talking about, hey, are you retiring soon? What do you need to do? Planning on retirement? What do you need to do first before you retire? And you've come up with some great things. Nail down that retirement date, work with a financial professional and work out a budget, estimate that reliable monthly income. Yes, that means a spending plan or a budget. What's next on the list?
Well, we kind of touched on, planning income streams, right? So if you're fortunate enough to still have a pension from your employer, it's really important when you get ready to make your decision, if they allow you to take 100% pension election and provide no survivor benefit, this is if you have a spouse, or if they allow you to take a reduced amount of pension for yourself to provide a survivor benefit for your spouse after you're gone. So there's a lot of variables that need to be taken in consideration there, Tony. For example, how old or how young are you when you retire? How old or how young is your spouse? What is your longevity expectation, like the genes in your family and hereditary, and same thing with your spouse. So are one or both of you, do you have genes in your family that you're both going to live till 90s into your hundreds? Or does one or both of you have some maybe unfortunate healthcare concerns or genes in your family that says, gee, most of my family passes away by 70, 75? Those variables are going to come into play in helping you make the right decisions on when you take your pension, how much pension you take, as well as Social Security. Whether you have a pension or not, everybody, as of today, as of this recording, everybody has an opportunity to receive Social Security benefits. Again, it's a matter of when do you take those benefits. You can take them as early as age 62. You can wait till full retirement age, which for most of the viewers and listeners, probably around the age of 66, 67 years old, or you can delay all the way up until age 70. And your benefits continue to grow year after year until you take them. So the earlier you take Social Security, you will get less income. Granted, you'll get it for a longer time frame, but you'll get less income. And you lock that in for the rest of your life, and that could lock in an amount for your spouse as well after you pass away. So the longer you wait, the more income you're going to get, but that many more years that you went without the income. So again, for some families, it does make more sense to turn your income on at 62, at 64, when you need the income. However, for other families, it does not make good financial sense to do that. It makes more sense to wait till full retirement age or even wait till age 70. So again, this is why you need a team, Tony, because how can any one person understand the amount I have in my 401k? What are all my expenses? What's my budget? How much can I pull out? How much am I earning? What are my fees? How much is taxed? What is my Social Security? There's just so many variables that come into play there, Tony. I can't stress enough. That's why it's important to have a plan and have players on your team like a CPA that can help you with these tax concerns, like an estate planning attorney that can help you with power of attorney documents, healthcare directives. What happens if I do die early or my spouse dies? What's going to happen with all of our stuff, right? And then, of course, an income plan. How are we going to turn our 401k that we worked so darn hard for 20, 30, 40 years or more to grow to what it is today? How do we transition from growing our wealth into preserve and protect our wealth, and let's get an income stream that we can live on comfortably for the rest of our lives, whether that's a 5-year, 15-year, 30-year retirement, Tony?
Wow. That's really, it's so important. And people always think, well, if I I've got to sign when I got to file for Social Security when I'm 62, because then I'll get more checks, because that's the earliest I can file. Because my neighbor did it, or my family member told me to, or a guy, my coworker. That's not right for everybody. Some people may need to file early, but you are locking in a lower amount, and that could affect your spouse, the surviving spouse. So there's so many things to consider, and how much does it roll up? What's your sweet spot? Everybody's different, and Social Security is one of the keys, because you've told me before, Jason, that Social Security is the foundation of retirement planning. That's where you start, because it's a known quantity. You can figure it out, you can maximize it, and you have a report that you can run for people called the Social Security Maximization Report. And you put in some personal information. You look at maybe their family health history. You get their full retirement number. You don't need their Social Security number. You just get their full retirement age and full retirement amount. Just a couple of pieces of information, input that, and run this report. And it'll include spousal strategies. It includes how to maximize your Social Security, when the best time for you to file, based on your personal situation, and you and your team go over that with them. And so if our listeners out there want to get a Social Security maximization report run, you just have to set up a no charge, no obligation consultation with Jason and his team there at Great Lakes Investment Advisors. And that number is 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. Pick up the phone, give Jason and his team a call there. Jason, I know you love to hear from folks, answer any questions they might have, or just get a plan started, whether it's about Social Security specifically, or you need an overall plan, or you need a second opinion on where you're at with your finances. I know that's what you do for folks there. So we're going to continue the show just a moment. You're listening to your Financial Empower Hour. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with Jason Cryderman, and today's topic is a good one. I really like today's topic, how you can figure out what to do first before you retire. What do you need to do before retirement, whether it's next week, next year, or in 5 years from now, 10 years from now? You've got to get these things done. What's another thing that our listeners need to look at here?
Yeah, I think it's important, Tony, that you point out, the more we can do ahead of time and plan for this retirement, as you mentioned, Tony, it could be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Also take into consideration, was it your choice? There are a lot of companies over the last few years that are downsizing. There are some right here in Midland, most recently, that are they're closing plants. Things are changing, right? So that might be a forced retirement. Now, think about your financial position that you're in today. If your position is eliminated, can you afford to retire? Some people say, yep, you know what? This is actually my golden goose. This is a great opportunity. I am all set. I can afford to retire. Most likely, those people already have a plan. They've been planning this. Other people say, geez, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can afford to retire. I don't know if I have to get another job. Those are people that you need to sit down with somebody like myself or another member of my team and start building a plan. You may find out, hey, you're going to be just fine and you can afford to retire. Yet there's other people that we're going to say, no, absolutely not. That's not in your best interest to retire right now. We need to go another 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of employment to build that portfolio up a little more, to pay off some debt, to be ready to incur whatever taxes or medical expenses we might have coming down the road. So, Tony, I think just starting out is no matter what phase of your career you're in or retirement, you might already be in retirement thinking, geez, I've already retired. These guys are talking about planning ahead of time. It's too late for me. No, it's not. It is never too late to sit down and start talking about where are you and what are your goals, and are you doing everything that's in your best interest to accomplish your goals with the highest probability of success so you can live the best, most awesome retirement you possibly can live. So that's important, I think, Tony, and having that plan, having a team around you, because there's a lot of variables. We can start throwing in there things to take into consideration is a withdrawal strategy. A lot of people ask me, how much should I be able to pull off my portfolio per year, and I don't have to worry about running out of money. And I think there's a good rule of thumb that Fidelity came out with. They call it their 4% rule. Okay. And it used to be about 8%, then it went down to 6%. Now it's around 4%. And all that is really, it's just a rule of thumb. It's not a guideline to follow in concrete, but it's a rule of thumb that just says you should be able to pull out about 4% of your portfolio per year and maybe never even touch in the principal, especially not run out of money. So again, depends on how much you have in your portfolio, how much you're earning, how much of that's going to be taxed. What are your expenses? What is your risk exposure? These are all variables that could make that 4% rule for certain investors, Tony. It could make it 2%, or it could make it all the way up as high as 8 or 10%. So having a strategy, a good withdrawal strategy, and that withdrawal strategy has to be based on, again, what are your expenses? What are your income sources? And how is your portfolio invested to get through an awesome retirement? To be ready for a stock market correction of 20 or 30 or 40%, because it will happen. And the more you lose, the less you're going to be able to take for income.
There you go. And I know that one big part of what you provide to your clients is that withdrawal strategy. So when the market is down, let's say it's back in 2022, just a few years ago, we had a down market, a down year. Stocks and bonds were way down, right?
Yeah.
20, 40%. You don't want to be withdrawing from your accounts when the market's way down. So you have, as people get older and headed toward retirement or in retirement, maybe you have some money in some principal protected options, right? Maybe you have some downside protection, and there's portfolios that have the buffered index or different portfolios that you can look at that offer downside protection too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we keep it really simple, Tony. We call it bucketing. So you might have, I'm going to call it your monthly living expenses. That should be a bucket. And I'm going to tell you, that's probably going to be at the local bank or credit union, right? So in that bucket, you should have enough to cover the monthly expenses plus cushion. And I tell everybody, you probably should have 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So again, you have to know what your expenses are. You need to have about 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the local and liquid bucket. Local and liquid, it's a bank, it's a credit union. I can drive in there in 5 minutes. It's local, it's liquid. I can pull it out. Heaven forbid, Social Security checks stop, which we just went through a government timeout or government shutdown. If Social Security checks stop or pension checks, what are you going to do? Where would you get your income to still pay the bills? So I think you should have an initial bucket of 3 to 6 months living expenses. That's your daily bucket. And then you're right. When we might go out into like a 3 to 6 month bucket, and then maybe a 1 to a 2 year, 3 year bucket, and then a 3 year to a 5 year bucket. And we build multiple buckets over time. The longer term buckets tend to be a little bigger, and they tend to be a little more risk or opportunity buckets because we're not going to touch that money for a certain period of time. And generally the medium term buckets will refill the short term buckets. So it's almost like a cascading waterfall down in to replace your income, to replace money that you might be spending. It's very important. You should be analyzing your portfolio on a monthly and quarterly basis, Tony. And this is something we do with all of our families. Analyze that portfolio, okay? Because like when you mentioned 2022, when stocks were down almost 20%, bonds were down 14%, and people were needing to pull income off their portfolio. If you didn't plan for that, remember, plan for the best, prepare for the worst. If you didn't plan ahead in the years before that, when the market was up 20-some%, you need to pull off some gains. You need to be pulling off gains of those buckets and putting them away into safe, protected buckets. So you capture your gains. It's just like sitting down at a card table with $100 and all of a sudden you're up to $200-300. Pull off some of those gains and put it in your pocket. Protect your winnings. That way you're planning for the best. Hey, I'm making money, but you're also preparing for the worst. That if next year, the following year, if the market goes down, which it will, I promise you, Tony, if there's one thing I've learned in 23 years of being an advisor, markets go up and markets go down. They always will. Markets will always go up, but they always will go down. When you have a down month or a down quarter or a down year, are you going to be able to pull money off to sustain your retirement, to pay your bills and sustain your lifestyle? if you don't have money set aside, if you haven't prepared for that, you're going to have to end up selling at a loss. And now let's think about that. If you have to take money out of your IRA and you sold at a loss and you have to pay taxes on the money, you're digging a big hole you'll probably never get yourself out from under. So I truly believe you need to analyze the portfolios on a quarterly basis. When we do have earnings, pull those earnings off the table, put them away into one of those maybe shorter term buckets, a principal protected bucket. As you mentioned, there's the buffered index portfolio. That's 100% principal protected. There's fixed accounts. There's fixed index annuities. These are all guaranteed 100% principal protected that still have some really good upside opportunity for some conservative to moderate growth. So analyzing that, Tony, so you're always planning for the best but preparing for the worst, will help you make sure your lifestyle is not hindered in retirement when the market does go down. Because I promise you, it will go down. And you just don't want to find yourself markets down. I have to sell at a loss and pay taxes just to try to pay the bills this month. That's not a good, fortunate position to be put in during retirement.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. And we're running out of time here for the show. I know a few more things you wanted to talk about. I know a big one that you always talk about that people need to do before they retire is figure out what they're going to do in retirement. It's not just about finances. I mean, you help them with the financial part, but they need to have a purpose too, and that'll help their health. And that can also lead to fewer medical costs in retirement if you have something that keeps you going, right?
Yeah, I mean, having a purpose. So retirement is not only is it a monetary change. It is a monetary change, but it's a very physical change. It's a very emotional change. Think about working for 20, 30, 40 years and you're showing up every day at a location, you're going somewhere, you're doing something, you're being productive, you're feeling wanted and needed, and you're giving back, and there's a purpose to what you're doing. And there's camaraderie with people around you. Well, all of a sudden you're retired, you might lose some of the relationships around you. Don't let that happen. Find those relationships, solidify them before retirement, and keep them growing, even more relationships into and through retirement, because now you can get together and talk about and do things that are hobbies, not just all work related. So grow those relationships. Do something that makes you feel driven, that makes you feel wanted and needed, and you have a purpose, whether that's volunteering at your church, that's volunteering somewhere else. It's just getting out in the community and doing things, doing some of the old hobbies you want to pick up and do more of. Pick up those old hobbies. Don't be afraid to get new hobbies. Don't be afraid to expand your friend levels and your relationships, because you're going to have a lot of time on your side. When you get into retirement, a lot of people have, and if you're not planning ahead for all this new free time, and this might have a lack of purpose, you are responsible for your own purpose. Go out there and find it, because it is a physical change. It's an emotional change, but it can be the most awesome change of your life. Retirement is supposed to be your golden years. Make it that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I think that's a great note to end today's show on. And for our listeners, before we go, once again, if you want a copy of Jason's book, or you want to set up a no-charge, no-obligation consultation, simply call 989-835-7203. That number again is 989-835-7203. And that does it for today's episode of your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman.